The problem? MegaGPT is taking a lot of money. Yeah, that's what I would say if I didn't just buy $400 worth of figures. You see, I'm a bit of a figure connoisseur myself, but they're just really expensive, and before I know it, oh, that's $300 of Chinese New Year money gone. Now, this isn't just a problem I have, but many others with no sense of financial responsibility. Figure pre-orders are just too easy until they all stack up. So, how would I fix this? Maybe make a budgeting sheet? Track my purchases? No! Do I look like a responsible human being? I'm instead going to make a website about Ami prices to spread awareness of how expensive figures can be. Nah, I just want to fulfill my sick addiction of looking at figures. Alright, so I'm thinking of making a ripoff of this game called Higher Lower. It was like the only game unrestricted on my middle school iPads. So then, that sparks the question. How am I going to get data for this thing? Well, Higher Lower takes data from Google Trend searches in 2017, and I'm going to be using an Ami wrapper that can gather data from the Ami database, and with a bit of Python magic, I can get the name, prices, and images of any item that I use for a search. Now, there are a few bugs, like how some items are listed as $0, but I just use some more Python magic to mask them out, and with that, I have my data. Now, you may be thinking, well, Chaikin, how legal is this? Yes! Okay, so after building the base game, my friend Priansh created one with a backend using Flask instead of everything being in a JavaScript file, simultaneously changing my code's nationality from Italian to not Italian. He also changed my CSV file to JSON so that it's easier for computers to read it. Okay, so now you may be thinking, haha, Chaikin, that's cool, but I frankly don't give a shit. Well, if you just wait a moment, it's about to get a lot more boring. Everything starts here at main.py. Think of this as like a skeleton for the website. Over here, we have the base website, which is just a slash, aka the homepage. Everything else is just for accessing shit. The good thing about Flask is that it mainly uses Python for processes instead of ugly PHP and JavaScript code. What you really need to know here is random pick and compare. We'll get back to them though, because these functions are called in the script. Speaking of the script, whoa, it's not 500 lines this time. It's as if somebody did it in Python instead of all JavaScript. The script now is calling and receiving instead of my old spaghetti code that did everything. You notice the URL and type, and that's because Flask uses URLs in order to execute functions between frontend and backend. I'm able to talk to the backend through these URLs using this little AJAX thingy. It's a jQuery function that lets it perform an AJAX request, which W3 School says is an asynchronous HTTP. Don't really know what that means, but it works. So, okay. So now that we know how to call these URLs, that's exactly how we communicate with functions like random pick and compare. Notice how I said that the script is for calling and receiving? Well, that's because script.js is also there for evaluating the results that the backend gives back. The entire process is pretty simple. First, we get a random pair from the backend, we display that pair's name and image, and once the user clicks on an image, we send the two product IDs to the backend for comparing prices. It sends back which is higher, and we use that to see if you guess correctly. There's also other stuff like clearing everything after, scores, animating prices, but that's the boring stuff. You don't need to know about that. Alright, now that that's over, it's time to test this out. Hey fucker, looks like you're using cPanel with a Flask? That's like oil and water because that shit sucks. Don't use cPanel for Flask applications. I learned it the hard way. Instead, you should use Heroku to host this. All you need is a requirements file and a proc file, and then you can just link it to GitHub, and that's literally it. Why didn't I use Heroku sooner? I make life harder on myself. Shut up, you depressed fuck. Now it's actually time to test this website out. Alright, so now we're going to go over some of these people who played our game, website, whatever you want to call it. So the first person I want to go over is Moa, because this is actually where I talk about the average, which is that the average is about 16, 15. She did threaten to beat me with the slippers, so I guess I'm going to work at Lockheed Martin after I graduate college or something so that I can keep my promises about this one. So now that we talked about the average, I want to talk about an outlier here, which is Alu, from the channel Alubuys. I don't know how you pronounce it. So she got a score of 3 and threatened to beat me up afterwards. If you divide 3 by 15, you get around 0.2 or 20%, which means that she failed miserably. Like, we're talking about like white kid who does drugs during high school miserably failing. Alright, so now we're gonna go over my friend Aiden. So he played it normally, and then he asked what my Discord banner was. And this was my Discord banner until I changed it to Mika laughing at the crippled person. So he's now concerned about my well-being. So yeah, that's Aiden. Thank you, Aiden. I actually joined a Discord server recently with some Blue Archive YouTubers that are all panicking because Project KV is coming out. And 2 of them actually reviewed it after I sent it in there. One is Pogchama and the other is Kiro. He said he got fooled by Brazilian Miku, and Pogchama said that Miku fucked him up twice. And there are a lot of Miku figures. I'll later get into how many figures there are. Here's our channels in the sides. I think Pogchama got banned. Ooh, that's crazy. Okay, so here we have the CSV file. I'm using CSV instead of JSON right now just so that it's a lot easier to just do Control F and see how many are in a row. So this is basically the database we got from doing certain keywords like Azure Lane, Blue Archive, Genshin Impact, Hentai. So what you're gonna notice first is that there's gonna be the name right here, the price, and then the image. And this is the image URL. I don't know why AmiAmi made it this easy to access. Usually they do some stuff like maybe make the title into an image instead of just text, but they didn't, so thanks AmiAmi. Yeah, so we can just see how many Miku figures there are by just doing Control F and doing Miku. And oh my fucking god, that oh Jesus. That is a lot. So we can also do this for something like Azure Lane, which has a lot of figures. 350. So theoretically, Hatsune Miku has more figures than Azure Lane. I'm saying theoretically because Miku does have a lot of filler stuff that I do need to take out that aren't figs. So this is what the JSON file is like for anyone who's wondering. What you're gonna notice here is that there's an ID, ID1, ID2, and then everything's here. So we put this ID here for comparison so that the code can refer back to these 3. And yeah, that's about it. It's basically the same. I could just type Miku, and there's 567. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, like and subscribe. If you didn't, why are you like at the end of the video? I'm going to try and step away from making AI stuff for the time being because 1, I don't want to be known as just the Mika GPT guy, and 2, hosting one is already expensive enough. Support me on Ko-Fi if you want and can. I'm still in high school and I'm applying to like 20 colleges because I'm Asian. And if we do, the average is $70 per application times 21, it's Also, I'm going to be working on your stupid good website or extension ideas for the next 2 weeks or so. So leave them in the comments if you want. I'm just not gonna work on AI versions of characters or like any big games. Games like the one in the video are fine though. Anyways, as tribute for Priansh helping me, I told him that I'd make a Mugi edit, so